On the morning of February 28, 2026, United States and Israeli intelligence agencies achieved what many analysts had considered nearly impossible. Through a combination of sophisticated surveillance systems, human intelligence networks, and real-time tracking technology, they determined that Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and more than 40 senior regime commanders were gathered at a compound in central Tehran. The intelligence indicated that this was a rare moment when nearly the entire senior leadership of the Islamic Republic was concentrated in a single location. The decision to act came with remarkable speed. Rather than waiting for nightfall, which would have been the conventional military approach, the United States and Israel made the calculated decision to launch their strike in broad daylight. The timing was significant for multiple reasons. It was the middle of Ramadan, a period when the Iranian leadership may have assumed they would be less likely to face attack. It was also Saturday, the start of the Iranian work week, meaning government operations were functioning normally. President Donald Trump authorized the American component of the operation, which the Pentagon designated Operation Epic Fury. Israel's military codenamed their parallel effort Operation Roaring Lion. What followed was the largest joint U.S.-Israeli military operation in history. According to multiple defense officials and intelligence sources, approximately 200 Israeli aircraft entered Iranian airspace in full coordination with American forces. The operation represented an unprecedented level of military cooperation between the two allies, with U.S. naval and air assets providing support, suppression of enemy air defenses, and missile defense coverage throughout the region. The primary target was the bunker complex where Khamenei was located. Israeli aircraft delivered approximately 30 bunker-penetrating munitions specifically designed to destroy hardened underground facilities. These weapons, capable of penetrating reinforced concrete and earth, were essential for reaching the protected command structure where the Iranian leadership had gathered. The initial wave of strikes began after sunrise in Tehran, with massive explosions reverberating across the capital. Videos captured by residents showed large plumes of thick black smoke rising over the city skyline. Communications in parts of Tehran were disrupted as infrastructure was damaged. Within hours, Israeli officials began confirming what intelligence assessments had indicated. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the 86-year-old cleric who had ruled Iran with absolute authority since 1989, was dead. The scope of the leadership elimination was staggering. According to Israeli Defense Forces statements confirmed by U.S. officials, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran since 1989, and the ultimate authority in the Islamic Republic's political and religious hierarchy, was killed. The defense minister responsible for Iran's conventional military forces was also confirmed dead. The intelligence chief, head of Iran's intelligence apparatus responsible for both domestic surveillance and foreign operations, was eliminated. Multiple senior officers of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the elite military force that answers directly to the supreme leader and controls Iran's missile program, proxy networks, and internal security, were killed in the strikes. Ali Khamenei, secretary of the Supreme National Security Council and a powerful advisor to Khamenei, was also confirmed dead. CBS News reported that intelligence and military sources indicated approximately 40 Iranian officials were killed in the strikes, though it remained unclear whether these officials were concentrated in one location or spread across multiple targeted sites. Iranian state media, specifically the Islamic Republic News Agency, eventually confirmed Khamenei's death. According to Iran's Fars news agency, the supreme leader was at his office within his residence at the time of the strike, rather than hiding in a designated bunker. This detail suggests the intelligence that located him was exceptionally precise. Reports also indicated that members of Khamenei's family, including a daughter, son-in-law, and grandchild, were among the dead. President Trump announced the operation and its outcome on Truth Social. His statement emphasized the sophistication of the intelligence and tracking systems that made the strike possible. He was unable to avoid our intelligence and highly sophisticated tracking systems, and working closely with Israel, there was not a thing he or the other leaders that have been killed along with him could do, Trump wrote. The president characterized Khamenei as one of the most evil people in history and declared him dead. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed the strike in a video statement, indicating that Israeli forces had obtained visual confirmation of Khamenei's death. This morning, with a surprising hit, a blow, we hit out at the tyrant Khamenei, Netanyahu said. For 3 decades, he has been sending terror with proxies and has made his people miserable, and continue talking about the extermination of the state of Israel. This plan and program no longer exists. This tyrant no longer exists. Netanyahu stated that the goal of the joint operation was to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran and to create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their destiny into their own hands. The strike on Khamenei was part of a larger military operation targeting Iranian infrastructure. Israeli forces dismantled Iran's aerial defense systems in western and central Iran, establishing air superiority over Tehran. Trump announced the operation would destroy their missiles and raze their missile industry to the ground. Satellite imagery showed vessels burning at the Konarak naval base, and Trump stated the intent to annihilate their navy. Officials emphasized the campaign would ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. The operation came after the largest U.S. military buildup in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. The USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike groups were positioned in the North Arabian Sea and Eastern Mediterranean. 14 guided missile destroyers armed with Standard Missile-3 interceptors were spread across the region, along with ground-based THAAD systems and Patriot missile batteries providing additional protection for allied forces and regional partners. Iran responded to the strikes with missile and drone launches across the region, spreading the conflict far beyond its borders. Iranian missiles targeted Israeli cities with trails of smoke streaking the sky above Tel Aviv as Israeli interception systems engaged incoming missiles. At least 9 people were killed in an Iranian missile strike on the Israeli town of Beit Shemesh, and 1 woman was killed by an Iranian missile hit in Tel Aviv. 3 U.S. soldiers were killed and 5 seriously wounded when Iranian attacks struck a military base in Kuwait. Bahrain reported that an Iranian airstrike hit the U.S. naval base housing the Fifth Fleet. The United Arab Emirates intercepted Iranian missiles, though shrapnel from one killed a foreign national in Abu Dhabi. Qatar and other Gulf states faced incoming fire, successfully intercepting most attacks. The regional escalation disrupted global air travel, with more than 1,400 flights canceled in and out of Middle East destinations. Major airlines halted service to the region, and airspace restrictions affected routes worldwide. The Iranian Red Crescent Society reported more than 200 civilians killed and 747 injured in strikes across Iran within the first hours. The most controversial report involved an airstrike that Iranian state media said hit a girls' primary school in Manab, southern Iran. Initial reports indicated 85 children killed, with the death toll later rising to 148 as rescue workers continued searching the rubble. Saturday is the start of the Iranian school week. Captain Tim Hawkins, a U.S. Central Command spokesperson, responded to the reports by stating that the military takes these reports seriously and is looking into them. He emphasized that the protection of civilians is of utmost importance and that, unlike Iran, the United States has never and will never target civilians. With Khamenei dead and dozens of senior officials killed, Iran's governmental structure faced immediate chaos. The government declared 40 days of national mourning. Iran's top remaining security official, Ali Larijani, announced a temporary leadership council and accused the United States and Israel of attempting to dismantle Iran. Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf threatened Trump and Netanyahu, declaring they had crossed a red line and would pay for it. Reports indicated Khamenei had put detailed succession plans in place before his death, elevating Larijani to manage any crisis should senior leadership be killed. Khamenei's death produced a striking split among the Iranian population. In Tehran, state-organized mourners gathered, holding pictures of the supreme leader and waving Iranian flags in shows of grief and defiance. But in other parts of the country, the reaction was dramatically different. Videos emerged from Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, and Galidar showing Iranians cheering in the streets, setting off fireworks and holding impromptu celebrations. In one video, a man shouted, "Hello, New World," as crowds toppled a statue of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the founder of the Islamic Republic. This split reaction reflects the massive anti-government protests that had swept Iran in late 2025 and early 2026, the largest since the 1979 revolution, which the government violently suppressed, killing thousands. The global response was divided along predictable lines. Russia's President Vladimir Putin condemned the targeted killing of Khamenei as a cynical murder. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi called the U.S.-Israeli attack unacceptable and condemned the blatant killing of a sovereign leader and the incitement of regime change. President Trump spoke with leaders of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in the hours following the strike. The Washington Post reported that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had privately lobbied Trump repeatedly over the preceding month to launch the attack, despite public Saudi support for diplomatic solutions. The February 28th operation marked the effective end of the 47-year-old Islamic Republic as it had existed under Khamenei's leadership. The supreme leader had ruled Iran since 1989, shaping its foreign policy around hostility to the United States and Israel, building a network of proxy forces across the Middle East through Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and pursuing nuclear capabilities that kept the region in perpetual tension. In a single morning, that era ended. The axis of resistance that Khamenei had spent decades constructing now faces an uncertain future without its central architect. The regime's ability to project power, coordinate with proxies, and pursue its nuclear ambitions has been severely compromised by the elimination of so much of its senior leadership simultaneously. As Iran declared mourning and launched retaliatory strikes, as celebrations erupted among regime opponents in Iran and around the world, and as global markets reacted to the most significant geopolitical event in decades, one fundamental reality became clear. The Middle East that existed before February 28, 2026, no longer exists. The future of the region and whether the Islamic Republic can survive this unprecedented blow remains to be seen.